Smarting from their unexpected losses, some Democrats are angry with President Obama for extending his hand to President-elect Trump to ensure a smooth transition of power.
Democracy can be frustrating because democracy means that you don't always get 100% of what you want. Democracy means that sometimes you have to compromise. And it means that, the outcomes of elections don't always turn out the way you would hope.
The outcome of this election certainly did not turn out the way Democrats hoped, and some say it might be time for some heads to roll. Now, does that include the head of Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California? She has led House Democrats for nearly a decade. Her challenger for the role of House Minority Leader is here with me, Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it. So you're challenging Pelosi for House Democratic leader, and you say that you think the Democratic Party cannot win back the majority with its current leadership, and you say the party needs an economic message, a deep economic message. I don't really understand what the message is in terms of how it might differ from what we heard from Nancy Pelosi or Hillary Clinton.
Well, I think we were talking a lot about issues that weren't deeply economic, and I think that provided a huge opening for Donald Trump to come in, and that led to the disaster that happened on Tuesday.
What were the Democrats talking about too much, and what were they not talking about enough?
Well, I think from the House of Representatives side, if you go and look back to the month or two or three before we even left to come home to campaign, we were talking about things like the Zika virus and other issues. I'm for increased funding for the Center for Disease Control. Of course, we need to fund that, and we need to help deal with the Zika virus. But that's not a deep economic message. That's a national message. That's a message in a couple of regions in the country. And I think things like that throw us off track. We need a brand as a party that says we are the party that are going to help working class people, white people, black people, brown people, gay people, straight people, improve opportunity for them to grow their wages, to have security, economic security, and we got off that message. And when we don't talk about economics, we lose elections.
So I did hear Hillary Clinton talk about raising the minimum wage, and I did hear her talk about an infrastructure bill, and I did hear her talk about a lot of these issues that you're referring to. You're just saying that people in Ohio didn't hear it enough?
Obviously, there was a lot of noise through it, but here's the deal. We have to talk about moving forward. I can't, in good conscience, hang this election around Nancy Pelosi's neck, of course. But moving forward, we have to win congressional seats in areas of the country that voted for Donald Trump, even in my district where they voted for me and they voted for Donald Trump. So I think I'm uniquely qualified because I know who these people are. And, some of them are friends of mine, neighbors of mine who voted for me and voted for Donald Trump. We have to get those people back into the fold. And as I told my colleagues, I know in my heart that we cannot win the House back under the current leadership. It's time for a change. The American people asked us to make a change here, and we've got to do it. And it's not easy. We're in the middle of a family fight here, but we got elected to come to the United States Congress. There's only been 10,000 members of Congress in the history of our country, Jake. 10,000. Wearing this pin is an honor. And with that comes the opportunity to have to make some really tough decisions, and sometimes they're family decisions.
Well, let me ask you about
we've got to move in another direction.
Considering that your district went for you and for Donald Trump, let me ask you, do you think that House Democrats and Senate Democrats should try to cooperate with Donald Trump and work with him on issues where there might be some common ground, like, for instance, infrastructure, theoretically? Or do you think that Democrats should be an opposition party that tries to stop him?
Let me say, if he tries to defund Planned Parenthood, if he tries to kick people off their health insurance, if they try to privatize Medicare or cut taxes for the wealthy, we're going to have a Youngstown street fight in the Capitol. That's what's going to happen. If he has other opportunities where we can grow the economy, where we can invest in the working class people, knowing that a third of working class people are people of color, so this is our broad coalition, then we will look for places to work with him. But as I'm reading about his infrastructure bill in the last couple of days, it looks like a bunch of smoke and mirrors and some corporate giveaways. And if that's what it looks like, then he's going to have a fight on his hands.
There's another fight going on, which is for the DNC chair position. Your colleague, Keith Ellison, Democrat of Minnesota, has picked up the support of Chuck Schumer, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren. I want you to take a listen to what Congressman Ellison had to say about guns in 2014.
Then why doesn't your party come out against the Second Amendment?
I'm not sure which they would. I sure wish we
Really?
would.
Because I never hear anybody in the Democratic Party say that.
So that's your candidate for DNC chair saying that he sure wishes the Democratic Party would come out against the Second Amendment. Is that the appropriate leadership for the DNC?
Well, that's not my decision entirely to make. I really don't have a horse in that fight. And so the DNC members are going to have to make that decision.
But you want to lead the Democratic Party in the House. You must have a position.
That's not my position. My position on guns and gun violence is not to get rid of the Second Amendment. We need people who are sportsmen and can hunt and fish. We need to have background checks. We need to close the gun show loophole. We need to make sure terrorists don't have guns, and we need to close the Charleston loophole. Those are the things we are pushing. And I was on the House floor when we were having this sit-in on guns. I think that's an important discussion we need to have, but not to give away the Second Amendment. I don't think that's appropriate. But on the issue of gun violence, why do we have violence in our inner cities? It's economics. It's poverty issues. This economic message should drive everything we talk about as Democrats. Poverty, middle-class wages, gun violence, things that happen in rural America. These are economic issues that the Democratic Party has lost its way, and if we want these Trump voters to come back, we need to start talking about these bread and butter fundamental issues that make us Democrats.
Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio, thank you so much. Appreciate it.